AI is going to be the new way we all lead.
Oh, tell me more. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hey, welcome. I am so glad that you made the choice to be here today because I have a very good friend of mine, MacKenzie Roebuck Walsh. She is an AI expert and she has done so much in leadership in terms of what she does every day. And she's an avid negotiator. Welcome, MacKenzie. What else would you say about you? What did I miss?
Yeah. Hey, Susie, thank you so much for having me on. I am negotiating every day, all day long, whether that's what my 5-year-old's going to eat for breakfast or a multi-million dollar AI contract. So, life is one big negotiation. But what's really cool about what I'm doing is now all my negotiations are fueled by AI. We have these new tools at our disposal, and they're taking negotiations to a whole new height. In fact, I've been wondering if at some point I'll even need to be in the room.
Oh, interesting. I think that's a myth that I want to uncover today is AI really going to take over for us? I liked what you said. I love the word fuels us. We've heard assistant. We've heard these things, but there's this real worry. Am I going to be relevant? AI is going to take over so much. And so much of that is the fact of the things that we don't know yet. And everything has just been uncovered literally faster than real time. But where is it going to stop?
It's interesting because I still think the playing field is open, right? Like technically AI could even have the conversation we're having today, and leaders are starting to integrate it in everything they do, right? They're using AI to prep for tough conversations.
Yeah.
They're using AI to fix their schedules. They're
Yeah.
using AI to look up how they should talk about their products or their role. But the humans are still also very much here. And AI today, as we speak, is an unpaid intern. It can do a lot, but you have to check the work every single time. And you've got to give really specific instructions. But you hit on something, the pace of change out of this world. And so there is this feeling of, okay, if I can already have AI do this much for me, what will it be able to do in another year, 2 years, 10 years, right? Will my children even speak to people anymore?
It is fascinating. And it makes me think a lot around negotiation. And, people do deals with people they know, like, and trust. Those
Mhm.
are we've heard that for years. That's how you make a connection from an advertising, from a marketing. That's how business is business to business, but it also is about being a good leader. It's about being a good negotiator. It's making that personal connection. And while we are going to be more educated at the table, be able to look at what are all the deal points, anticipate. I do like the idea of preparing for a difficult conversation by looking at it through AI. I think I talk to a lot of executives that feel self-doubt about, am I being too strong? Is this the right thing? Did I observe this the right way? And there's something about getting some data back. It's almost like having a coach that then
Mhm.
you could go, I'm gonna adjust this here. I'm not gonna be so strong there. I think it's really important that I look at this. So it allows you to kind of take the time to spend the time to show up differently. So I see it augmented. We're kind of busting the myth in real time,
Yeah.
but I think people are really afraid of where will that line stop and end?
I think they are afraid, and I think there's so much unknown, as you've said. But I think at the end of the day, humans are in control. We're going to be able to make those decisions. We're going to decide. But what's interesting is we can't decide for other people. So we may
Mm,
end up living in a society where some people do lean almost exclusively on AI.
mhm.
And we'll also probably have other people who barely use it at all, right? What
Yeah,
will be the ramifications of a generation raised with AI?
yeah.
And it'll become another tool, right? Like To me, it's kind of trendy right now to have a flip phone again.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
people are like, oh, I was raised with this computer in my parents' hand
Yeah.
and I don't want anything to do with it anymore. So I think that'll be really something to watch. But returning to negotiation and leadership in particular, if we have a choice, there will also be constraints there, right? So which
Mhm.
leaders are going to be the most successful?
Mhm.
Is it going to be the leaders that really lean into AI? And is there a world where they do lean in too far? Can you imagine as well? Because AI still hallucinates a ton. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that's going to go away because humans make mistakes and
Totally.
humans are building the AI. You can't correct for that
Yeah.
and also move towards artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
Because general intelligence includes hallucinations, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to just let AI run everything for you, it can make some really big mistakes. And I don't think that, especially when dealing with other people, it's going to be able to pick up on the nuances,
Yeah.
the little cues. You know, you're so good at facts, you probably have a good one in your head for this, but the amount of nonverbal that comes
Yeah.
into a negotiation,
Totally. Yeah.
how is
It's
AI going to do that, right?
Yeah, it's over 70% of the nonverbals that we don't pay attention to. And we also have learned, I've been hearing so much recently about it's so great to be in person. It's so great to connect. There's so much I've missed. We also forget about that because we've lived so long in this virtual world that we forget those nuances of that happening. And I will say too, I notice when people rely too heavily on AI, I'll work with people that aren't like great writers. And then all of a sudden, I'll get this whole like long email on something that they suggested position that they want to take. And I'm like, they just asked the question of AI and you can almost tell that they just spit it right out. So
Mhm,
another threat is that if you kind of just use it too much, people will know. And I've
mhm.
actually been losing respect for people that lean on it too much. That don't You can tell when people don't reread what they pulled
Right.
out.
Yeah,
It's
and
really
that's something
obvious.
I was gonna key on, right? It's that
Mhm.
it also panders to one of humanity's probably biggest shortcomings, our
Yeah.
path of least resistance,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know? And so you start to use it and you're like, "Oh, this is really great," and at first you're checking it,
Yes.
and
And then
then you're like, "Oh, this is really great. Alright, like, here, I'm just gonna
Yep.
pass it along. I skimmed it, looks good."
Yep.
And it loses authenticity, sometimes really important facts,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And I think the question at hand and this idea of will AI someday take over is will we ever be able to get to a place where it doesn't lose those facts, where you could just
Yeah.
literally like ask a question, dictate a couple, pieces of information, tell it where to go do the research and turn around and hand it in. I don't think so. We're
Yeah.
too creative. We're too
Yeah.
creating as a species. Just like you said, other people won't let that go.
Yes, totally. All right, so let's share a couple stories when we get back around how we're seeing it in our daily life and how obvious it is that we're not going to go away. We'll be right back. Hey, Susie here. Thought I'd pop in. I wanted to let you know I've been an executive coach for over a decade. I work with executives and they call me their silent partner because I help them increase their confidence when they're facing really difficult decisions. If you'd like to see if we're a good fit, head over to SusieTalmanchuck.com and fill out an application. I'd love to hear from you. So, MacKenzie, you and I were talking before we went live. You were telling me a great story about your dad. So,
Yeah.
tell us about what happened with him.
I was recently with my dad at a doctor's appointment. Dad's a cantankerous 85-year-old Irishman. So I am now in the mix, making sure that everybody knows what's happening. And we were seeing his primary care doc, a doctor he's seen for 20 years. And the doctor came in and asked for permission to use new AI that he's using to record all of his conversations and keep notes. And, dad gave permission and we proceeded through the appointment. We then leave the appointment. We're walking out. My dad turns to me and he's like, my doctor just spent more time with me today than he has in the last 20
Yeah.
years. And that AI technology is enabling that for his doctor. It's
Yeah.
taking these mundane tasks
Yep.
where he would have needed to add 10 minutes on the end of that appointment to go
Yeah.
write all the notes down. He can instead give that 10 minutes back to his patients.
Yeah.
And Ted was so excited, and so was I, because we needed the extra 10 minutes, you
Yeah.
know?
There's also this a level of listening. I always think of Chris Voss's book about the FBI negotiator and how he
Yes.
talks about so often when they would have somebody that they were on the phone with, they'd have 7 people listening to the same conversation for different things. Now let that sit with you. That means that there's so many things, like we talked about nonverbals, but also the verbal aspects of tonality and all those things. And so that doctor used to have to think about all of the facts that he had to kind of keep all of that in his head. So he
Mhm.
couldn't truly be present there. He
Yeah.
couldn't be there in the room fully because he was trying to problem solve. And that kind of is taken away because you have this assistant that's helping you be in the room.
And truly show up and be present. And I think that is when AI is at its best.
Yep.
And I love that example of, 7 people listening in. I also truly firmly believe that AI is gonna be the 7th person. So,
Yeah.
I don't think we're all gonna go away, right? Like, that's sort
Yep.
of a myth that we're working on today. I think AI becomes an additive team member. Yeah, and what's really interesting, we talk a lot about using AI for tonality, right?
Mhm.
Help me sound more enthusiastic. Help me sound more professional.
Yep.
On the negotiation side, you can also ask AI what someone with a different perspective might think,
Yes, I love that.
right? Load in a persona that
Yes.
is not in the room or should be in the room and say, help me understand how
Mhm.
they might receive this message.
Yes. Also, what questions are they gonna ask me?
Yes.
Because surprise is one of those emotions that shut us down so that we can't
Yep.
think. And so a question that we're not expecting can trigger that. And we've all been in a situation where we're asked a question that we weren't ready for, and we just tell them what's on top of our head, which is a strategy for the other side when you look at it the other way. But if you anticipate all of the things that could go wrong, what are the questions? What might get in their way? What barriers am I not thinking about? That allows you to be more agile in that moment because nothing will be a surprise to you, or very few things. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
this isn't going to alleviate everything. AI is not going to be able to jump to the future, see how it all goes, and then advise you based on that.
We're not watching that sci-fi film. But I love the example of the questions, Susie, as well, because I think it also drives home the point that this is a human augmentation tool, and it's not giving you like, don't ask AI for the questions and the answers, right? Ask it
Yeah.
some questions and
Yes.
then walk away and come up with your own answers. That's how
Yes.
you use AI to make you stronger.
Totally. Or have a really strong position. Like, I really like to load it up with my ideas and my thoughts and how I'm going to present it. And then to your point, help me see a different view. What
Mhm,
am I missing? What is not a part of this? So that you are giving it, it's almost like you're giving it this side of the table
mhm.
and tell me what you see from the other side of the table.
Yeah, and it's finding those aha moments, right? How
Mhm.
effective is AI today? Keep a little tally, how many aha moments has it given me versus how many times have I just offloaded something and kind of gone into robot mode,
Yeah.
myself, and not taken the time to really get into a meaty conversation and into what will make us successful.
Yeah, and I love that idea of, like, I don't know if this is the right context of what you meant, but in robot mode, so often when we're facing a high stake situation, we do not feel comfortable going in. So we do want to have a plan that we execute.
Yes.
But the person on the other side, it goes back to that know, like, and trust. People do deals with people they know, like, and trust. If you don't appear to be you, if you're pretending to be somebody that you're not, they will sense that, and when people
Mm.
sense that you're not thinking about the collective, they will focus on their own interests.
Oh, it's so true. And authentic leadership, something that we
Mhm.
talk about all the time. Huge part of my brand. I don't know how to be anybody else, right?
Yeah.
But also very important to remember that and to double check when I'm using AI. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good idea. But is that an idea that fits who I am? Do I really believe in it?
Yeah.
Or am I just using it because all of a sudden I trust this computer to be smarter than I am?
Yeah.
You got to keep your confidence in your own intelligence,
Yeah.
your own style, your own leadership ability up as well.
Yeah. I totally agree. And so give us 3 tips, MacKenzie, that we can start using.
Yes. So the first one, take time to use AI to get another perspective.
Yep.
You've already got all the perspectives that you can think of. Think of a persona that you're not thinking of. Who's not in that room? Who should be in that room? Get the perspective from AI. And I love what you said earlier too, Susie. Include the questions that they might ask,
Yeah, don't be
right?
surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because a high stakes situation, we usually avoid it because we don't want to think about it because it's going to be uncomfortable. And the best thing you can do is get a coach to help you see the angles that aren't available to you. You can get some facts to help you look at it from a different side. I love that. That's so important.
So, my second tip is to continue to practice your emotional intelligence. And what does
Mm.
that mean?
Mhm.
It means doing the stuff we know AI isn't going to replace. Be in person, learn more about people, connect on that human level
Mhm.
that builds the trust that you will need to be successful and that only you can do. You can't get AI to build trust for you.
Mhm.
That is being really purposeful about how you show up and how
Mhm.
you engage with others.
Yeah.
Practice that. Keep doing it.
I love that, and it goes back to a senior leader. One time I was gonna work with this team, and he said, "Susie, can you help people understand not just to show up, but to be seen?" So that can show a lot. To your point, it's about connecting with people in person. It's also turning on your camera. It's engaging with the person that's speaking. It's not multitasking. That increases your influence too, because that connection, that built trust is not just one path. Even afterwards saying, "Hey, I really appreciated the point that you brought up in that conversation. That would really help me understand or solidify that idea. I really appreciate you." It's not hard. It doesn't have to be something you over engineer.
No, it should be a part of you, right?
Yeah.
But in
Uh,
a world where we're all behind screens, it's easy to forget that part of you. And so
Yeah.
you need to really be purposeful about that. Those small, small things.
A coach that I really respect told me this right before we got on. Use people's names. Do you know
Yes,
what I mean, Mackenzie?
I absolutely do, Susie. It makes it feel good and it
Yeah.
brings you in, right? You're
Right?
like, yeah,
That
that's
just that
right.
little piece, I notice when people do that, but I never do that, Mackenzie.
You're totally right. Susie, I think I do it pretty well. Third and final tip is to have fun with this stuff. We've talked a lot about how to really handle kind of life's most difficult situations, but
Yeah.
AI can also make you a more interesting person.
Ooh, tell me
And
more.
who doesn't want to be interesting? But my favorite, I just learned it was at a conference this week and I learned about a new company. It's called Oh Wow, letter O, WOW. They've got an app. You take one selfie and they turn that into like 3 to 5 different posters of you. Susie as an action figure, MacKenzie as a stamp, right? I don't know. It's so fun. And sometimes AI can just be about unleashing that creativity in yourself, seeing yourself in a different way. I highly recommend taking 10 minutes and just giving it a try and having a good laugh.
And that can build connection too. You know, when you
Yeah.
don't take yourself so seriously and it's a conversation starter. You're in an intense high stakes situation and you bring your action figure up sitting next to you. The power in that, or you come in on a virtual call and you're underneath and your action figure is actually in the screen. I love that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. My favorite one right now, I made myself into Joan of Arc, but I call it my like road warrior, right? It's really fun.
All right,
Yeah.
so tell us your 3 tips again, just to remind us.
Yeah. 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 So, first and foremost, high stakes situations, we're using AI to find a different perspective
Yep.
and specifically what questions might I be asked. Secondly, we're showing up as our authentic selves and we're practicing human connection, whether it's
Mhm.
using someone's name, Susie, giving a compliment and looking a stranger in the eye. We're just really making sure that we continue to hone the things that are the best about humanity and trust. And third, we're having some fun. We're out using different tools like Oh Wow to make action figures of ourselves. We're sharing it with people. We're laughing. We're being creative with this new tool that we all have.
Oh, thank you, Mackenzie. I definitely love the embrace of fun. Just to remind you, what are you going to commit to? How are you going to show up differently? We're all shifting. We are not the same person we were yesterday. And if you're intentional about it, you will accelerate that development. So as we think about AI and what we're going to integrate differently, you said a lot of things about human connection, and I love that. And I'm just going to have more fun with it because that will make me more exploratory about what is possible. And that's going to keep me understanding where it's going and how fast it's really evolving.
Yeah.
So I love that tip. How about you, MacKenzie? What are you going to do?
I'm going to really lean into this question idea, right? Like, what questions should I be
Mhm.
asking? What questions might somebody be asking me? I'm going to walk away kind of from every prep session for an important conversation
Yep.
with that list of questions. And then I'm going to spend time really reflecting on how I would answer those just from my personal perspective. No AI help needed. But I think the ability to build those questions is my big takeaway.
The questions are really powerful both ways on how we ask them because it makes people think.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so important to prep with those questions because it makes you think, which takes you away from your strategy.
And it makes you think, right? Again, what else can AI not replace? Your
Yes.
personal thoughts.
Yes.
You'll get better and better.
I told a group last week that thinking or great questions make people think you're smart. And that was the one guy's takeaway. He goes, I want people to think I'm smarter, so I'm just going to ask more questions. So if that's the way you want to frame it for yourself, you go.
Top executives, you watch what they do. They spend 90% of
Yeah.
their time asking questions.
Oh,
Good
you
job.
are speaking my language.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, MacKenzie, it's such a pleasure. I always have great takeaways when I talk to you. People can find you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Susie at LinkedIn, absolutely best place to find me. MacKenzie Roebuck Walsh. I'm the only one out there so far. And look forward to connecting. Always happy to have a discussion and always love our time together. Thank you for giving me
Oh,
space on your show.
Oh,
I love it.
I love it so much. And I also do a newsletter every week that I know you read religiously,
I
MacKenzie,
do.
and it takes it to the next level. I really talk about how is this showing up in my life. I'd love you to join the network of really understanding how negotiation shows up every day. So head over to negotiationlove.com. You can sign up. It's free. And it's just my email to you.
Yeah,
So
one Monday minute. Yeah, you
one
guys will
Monday
love it.
minute at a time. Yes. All right. Don't forget that negotiation is more than a skill, it's a mindset. Until next time.